Let's start with the prompt. Which quotation from a scholarly article supports the assertion of the historians mentioned in the text? So what is the assertion of the historians mentioned in the text? In 1534, this king split with the Catholic Church and declared himself head of the Church of England, in part because the Pope refused to annul his marriage to Catherine. 2 years later, he introduced a policy titled the Dissolution of Monasteries that, by 1540, had resulted in the closure of all Catholic monasteries in England and the confiscation of their estates. Some historians assert that the enactment of the policy was primarily motivated by perceived financial opportunities. So, the hypothesis, the assertion of the historians, is that the enactment of the policy was the confiscation of all the Catholic monasteries in England. And the assertion is that that policy was motivated by perceived financial opportunities. So let's look and see which answer supports that idea. A, at the time of the dissolution of monasteries, about 2% of the adult male population of England were monks. By 1690, the proportion of the male population who were monks was less than 1%. Well, that doesn't really say anything about the financial opportunity in reclaiming all the monasteries. B, a contemporary description of the dissolution of monasteries, this book, recounts witness testimonies that monks were allowed to keep the contents of their cells and that the monastery timber was purchased by local people. So if the monks were keeping the contents of their cells and the timber was purchased by local men, there would be nothing in there to suggest that the king himself was taking the profit, because we have other people, the monks and the yeomen, keeping the profit themselves. C, in 1535, the year before enacting the dissolution of monasteries, Henry commissioned a survey of the value of church holdings in England. The work, performed by sheriffs, bishops, and magistrates, began that January and was swiftly completed by the summer. So the year before the act happened, the king commissioned a survey of the value of all the holdings. So in other words, before he decided he was going to seize all the holdings, he first did an assessment of how much they're worth. So that makes a lot of sense. That would definitely be in support of the idea that seizing all the monasteries was motivated by financial opportunities. And D, the October revolt, known as the Pilgrimage of Grace, had several economic motives. Well, here there's a revolt that had economic motives. So if you're reading through for economic motives, you're going to want to pick that one. But we're not looking for the motives of a revolt. We're looking for the motives of the seizure of the monasteries, the dissolution of the monasteries in 1540 or in 1534. So D doesn't match, and the answer remaining is C.